Good afternoon. My name is Alina. Some of you know me. I'm the Communications and Events Manager at the Richmond Chamber, and I will be moderating today's session. I want to start off by recognizing that the Richmond Chamber of Commerce operates on the traditional territory of the Musqueam First Nation. They have lived on this land for millennia, and we are grateful that we can gather here today. And I would also like to acknowledge the traditional territories that you may be joining us from. And before we begin, I would like to go over some housekeeping items with you. So everyone will be on mute. Your camera and your audio is not needed for today's webinar. We encourage questions today though. So you can see there's a Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. Just make sure you type in your question as you have it, and we'll address that towards the end. And if you have any issues with tech during the meeting, please pop it in the chat and I'll be happy to address that. We will end the webinar at 1 p.m., but before then we'll get to as many questions as we can. And now that the housekeeping is out of the way, it's time to introduce our presenters for today. So today's webinar is presented by Annabel Melnyk, the Manager of Employment Services at Aspire Richmond. Annabel is an advocate, trainer, and employment professional who brings 20 years of experience as a career coach and consultant to a role as a Manager of Employment Services for Aspire Richmond. Today, she'll be sharing hiring success stories from Richmond businesses who've discovered the benefits of inclusive hiring. She will also be joined by Tina Dam, a Mentorability team member from Inclusion BC. Tina has been working in the nonprofit sector, particularly with persons with disabilities for the past 15 years. Before entering the nonprofit sector, she worked in advertising, sales, corporate training, and customer service. The vastly different professional experiences helped Tina navigate the corporate world to connect with mentors while allowing her to create connections and understanding with mentees. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Annabel and Tina. Over to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. We've been looking forward to this webinar for some time. I will just share my screen. Okay, can you see the webinar now or the slides?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Oh, now I think so.
Okay, excellent. So thank you so much for coming. Welcome to Workplace Inclusion 101.
Annabel, we are also seeing the notes as well this time.
Well,
didn't work this time, did it?
Hang on.
All right. Maybe display settings?
Let's go back. Sorry about this, guys. It's not wanting to do anything. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment and change my screen, and then that should work. Okay. Okay, let's try this again. Sorry, guys. This is real life happening.
There we go.
I have had nothing but tech problems this last week. Okay, so share this. Share this. And then we should have my, there we go. Now we're cooking with gas.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you so much for joining us. And welcome to Workplace 101. It's about how mentorship and supported employment will benefit your business. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us to learn more about the difference supported employment can make in your business and also in the community. I'm Annabel Melnyk, and as Alina mentioned, I manage Aspire Richmond Employment Services. Our agency supports adults with developmental disabilities to find and maintain meaningful employment in the community. Together with my colleague Catherine Olson, who manages our youth and supported employment programs, we support 90 people in Richmond with the help of a team of 7 employment specialists and job coaches. One of the big challenges that businesses face today is finding and retaining reliable, motivated employees. What if I told you there's a largely untapped talent pool of candidates who consistently demonstrate above average loyalty, attendance, and enthusiasm? And what if I told you we can help you access this talent at no cost to your business? And that's exactly what I'm here to talk about today. But first, we have a quick poll question for you. So, in our roles that support inclusive employment, we've noticed that many organizations have DEI programs or statements listed on their websites. What we often notice is that DEI initiatives mention little or nothing about disability. Our poll question is, does your organization have a DEI program or a mission to support people with disabilities? So I will leave it to you guys to answer. These poll questions are so cool. So we're looking at about 50-50 right now. Oh. So we'll just give you a minute for a couple more answers. So we're largely split, it looks like. All right, awesome. Thank you, Alina. Now, do I need to click the stop sharing button or can you?
Sorry, I just all good.
Okay, yeah, so it looks like we're 40% yes, 40% no, 10% to an extent, and 10% unsure. Interesting. Okay, shall we move on? Whoops. And okay. So inclusive employment isn't just the right thing to do. It's actually smart business that will enhance the bottom line of your business. According to research by Accenture, companies that actively hire people with disabilities experience 28% higher revenue and 30% higher profit margins compared to their peers. The Institute for Corporate Productivity found that 3 out of 4 employers rate the performance of their employees with intellectual and developmental disabilities as good or very good on work quality, engagement, motivation, and dependability. In terms of reliability, studies show employees with disabilities have absenteeism rates 85% lower than their colleagues without disabilities. And then when it comes to customer perception research, it reveals that 92% of consumers view companies that hire individuals with disabilities more favorably, and 87% would prefer to give their business to such companies. That's astounding. But in spite of these compelling advantages, many businesses hesitate because they're unsure about how to navigate hiring people with a developmental disability. Unfamiliarity with the way to successfully approach hiring makes it feel complex and challenging when really it doesn't have to be. And that's where we come in. Aspire Richmond helps businesses, excuse me, to navigate the uncertainty about how to approach hiring and to lay a foundation for successful hiring experience. We partner with you to support recruiting well-matched employees so you can focus on what you do best, which is running your business. So we're not asking for favors, and I'm not here to guilt you into doing what I call compassion hiring. We offer a practical business solution for companies that creates a triple win for you, the employee, and the community. We're looking for meaningful jobs that allow our candidates to make a meaningful contribution to your bottom line. So I'd like to give you a peek behind the curtains of our process, which has helped us make so many successful placements over the last 15 years in Richmond. Our approach to inclusive employment follows a proven pathway that supports people for success and for both employers and employees. And we start with a thorough discovery and assessment process. We take the time to understand and develop an understanding of a job seeker's strengths, their interests, and potential skill gaps that might be supported with training or other support. And this typically happens over a 4 to 6 week period and allows us to carefully match their strengths with the specific needs of a business. Unlike traditional placement services that focus on filling vacancies, we are really looking for genuine matches where the skills of the people we support and the workplace requirements are naturally aligned. And this leads us to the next step, which is doing targeted job exploration and planning, where we guide candidates to opportunities that match their abilities. Some of the vocational planning strategies we use are workplace tours, job shadowing, or short-term mentorships, which Tina will discuss in more detail later. She's got some great stories to share. By the time we reach out to employers, we have a pretty solid understanding of the capabilities of the people that we work with, and they're ready to meet workplace expectations. Uh, the the job search process, we provide support that involves hands-on assistance through the application and interview processes. And rather than relying solely on things like traditional interviews, which might not showcase the real strengths of our candidates, we also explore strategies like working interviews. So you have an opportunity to see skills in action. And generally, we prioritize building genuine relationships with the employers that we work with. We take time to understand your business culture, your workflow, and your needs. We're really just not in the business of dropping off resumes. We're focused on creating partnerships with the businesses that we work with. So before placing candidates, we'll do a comprehensive task analysis that will help us ensure that we recommend really the best person for the job. Finally, our job coaching that we provide boosts long-term success with the people that we place by providing critical onboarding support so that we can lay a strong foundation for success. Our training support continues to be available as long as the business or the employee needs some support. Our job coaches become temporary extensions of your own team by helping employees to seamlessly onboard while learning your specific workplace procedures. We're really proud of the solid success rate that we've had with our placements because of the care that we take with matching people. However, even with all that careful placement, not all placements are 100% successful, but we never abandon either our candidates or the businesses that we work with. If issues do arise, businesses can rely on us to provide you support to navigate them and to follow your established performance improvement protocols that you have for all of your employees. And we will support you up to and including coaching conversations and if need be termination procedures. So the practical business benefits that you can expect is, I'd like to get specific about what this means for your business. Excuse me, when it comes to hiring, we take the guesswork out of the process by pre-screening and shortlisting qualified candidates for you based on our careful evaluation of the actual tasks your business needs completed. We don't send you people just hoping something's going to stick. We actually send you candidates that we've very carefully vetted specifically for your role. During onboarding, our job coaches are available to minimize your training for your own employees, our coaches actually learn the job themselves so that they can better support your new employees, so they can fully understand their responsibilities and be confident in their position. And over the years, I've learned jobs ranging from cleaning washrooms at the airport to maintenance, clerical work, packaging, production, property management, all kinds of things. You can think of our job coaches as specialized trainers who adapt your existing processes to ensure that information is clearly understood and retained by your employees. And then for ongoing support, we're there to help respond to any changing responsibilities or challenges that might arise. For example, when one of our placements at Go Auto needed to learn to operate a new scanning software in the business, we were able to pop in for a few days and provide job coaching just to smooth things out and bridge the gap so that there was no disruption to the business at all. And throughout our relationship with businesses, we provide useful tools and resources about inclusive hiring that can help position your business as a leader in community-minded practices, something that's increasingly important to consumers and employees as well. But these aren't just theoretical benefits. I'd like to share a couple of quick examples of successful partnerships that we've had in the community. So Go Auto, which I've already mentioned in the Richmond Auto Mall, employs a team of Aspire candidates across 3 different dealerships, and they handle everything from car detailing to warranty scanning. In 2010, Richmond Audi was experiencing repeated turnover in a routine entry-level position that was responsible for scanning warranty documentation for their service department. And what they found is they were having to rehire every 6 months because people got bored and moved on to other positions in the company or just quit the job. We were able to identify an individual we felt was a really good fit for the position, who they eventually hired. And you might assume that scanning is an easy job, but in spite of the fact that it's quite routine, it takes a great deal of attention to detail, and the benchmark for success in this position was actually 100% accuracy, because it was necessary to avoid stiff regulatory penalties for not maintaining accurate documentation. So one of our scanners commented that she loves the job because she finds it so relaxing. Don't we all want to be in a position we find relaxing? So in 2015, the Audi dealership calculated they'd saved close to $5,000 in recruiting costs for that original position. And that employee has stayed in the position for 15 years now. And what began as a single placement has now expanded to a team of 7. So the savings for Audi Richmond have grown exponentially. So our second win is at Mother's Choice Products, a family-owned distribution company that sells maternity products. The owner shared that staff had originally had some reservations about hiring someone with a developmental disability. When we visited them recently, one of their staff shared that the person they'd hired 5 years previously from us had actually changed her life by helping her see just how capable he was, and her witnessing the outsized contribution that he made to the company and the corporate culture, and it made a huge difference. So we've had that experience at Herbaland as well. Herbaland is in the Ironwood area, and they package nutraceuticals and like gummies and so forth. They began hiring students during our Impact summer youth program, and they were so impressed with the experience that they actually hired 4 of our individuals to work. And while 2 of them have since moved on to other opportunities, they still employ 2 of our candidates in their packaging department. It's been a real win-win for their organization and for our candidates who've really felt that they've grown so much because they're in such a supportive environment. What these diverse businesses share is that they've discovered that inclusive hiring isn't complicated when you have the right partner to work with. Their employees with developmental disabilities have become valued team members, and they contribute not only to the business's success every day, but they're also changing the hearts and minds of the community as they do it. So we've got one more poll question. And many organizations across BC support employees and employers around inclusive employment. And this could include training, supported employment, or funds for accommodations. The poll question is, how familiar are you with any of these programs? So I can see we're up and running. Interesting. It looks like we've got, a fairly, oh, we're shifting again. So it seems like a lot of the programs are really not familiar with people. So we've got some work to do getting people familiar. So just about 45% of people are not at all familiar with some of the programs. And so I'm glad you're here learning about ours today. And some of them know, but haven't actually used them. Okay. And it looks like we've got most of the responses. Okay, terrific. Thank you. Whoops. Oh, it's not, my thing is not changing. So what does partnering with Aspire Richmond mean for your business? In short, it means ease and confidence in navigating inclusive hiring, just because you can rely on our expertise and support, access to candidates who are carefully matched to your specific needs, and all of our services are provided at no cost to your business, which is a really good deal. And so you get everything for free from consultation through to continuing support. So I'm happy to share or answer any questions you have about inclusive hiring during our Q&A. And as a thank you for attending, I'll be sending a link to access our employer resource library, which I hope you'll find helpful. And if when you receive that, if you have any questions that you'd like to follow up and ask or inquire about our services, please just reply to the email and I'm happy to reach out and connect with you. So thanks for your kind attention. And now I'd like to pass you over to Tina Dam from Inclusion BC, and she will talk about the Mentorability program. And Tina has a wealth of experience and some great stories to share.
Let's see how many stories I'm going to tell. All right. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen now. All right. So welcome everyone. My name is Tina Dam. I'm one of the hub coordinators here in British Columbia, and I'm going to be telling you a little bit about Mentorability. So it's one of those key services that you can end up using to become more inclusive as an employer. one of the things that I love about Aspire Richmond is that ongoing support that I end up hearing from employers. The fact that they hire someone, maybe something has gone a little bit sideways, and the fact that Aspire Richmond can end up stepping in and doing some retraining, some adjusting, things like that. So it's a really fantastic service. So mentorability is a little bit different. We're a program that's across Canada, and we're part of CASE, the Canadian Association of Supported Employment, and we're in every province and territory. There's 2 hub coordinators here in British Columbia. I cover mostly the Lower Mainland, but I also go north along the coast, but not Vancouver Island at all. We wanted to share this video with you, but unfortunately we can't get the sound to you. I'm mixing my little, the box is not clicking, so you can't hear it. So this is an example of a mentorship that's on the screen. And this is Josh, where you can see the back of his head. And this is Ilana, who's on the screen. And she is an HR person at ICBC. And so this mentorship happened last January, February in 2024. And they ended up doing a virtual mentorship and talking about Josh's goals. His big goal was to work in insurance and to get out of his small town of Chilliwack. And they had a really fantastic conversation, and they were able to focus in on Josh's skills and where he would end up fitting best. And in fact, they offered Josh a contract role at the end or a couple of weeks after this mentorship. So he did end up working for ICBC. So he worked in insurance, meeting one of his goals. Didn't get out of Chilliwack, unfortunately. And so he ended up finishing that contract. And actually, a few months ago, the beginning of this year, he now is working in insurance full time, not on a contract basis. But again, I'm sorry to say that it is in Chilliwack. And you can see this is just a virtual mentorship. It took about an hour and a half out of her day. She was able to reach out to Josh after the mentorship in regards to different questions that he had, or actually questions that she had for him too. So in all of our mentorships, there are 3 essential stakeholders. There is the mentor, which might be one of you that's attending today, or one of your employees. There's the mentee, who's the person that is interested or curious about a particular role. And then there's also the mentorship facilitator. So all of our mentorships have got facilitators, and there's lots that work at Aspire Richmond. And the reason that we end up having these facilitators is for 4 key reasons. One, we don't ask mentors to end up getting a criminal records check. We also have insurance that's included in all of these mentorships. If a coffee gets spilt on a computer, if somebody slips and falls, there is insurance that covers all of that. And it's also the fact that this facilitator is there to support the mentor and the mentee, right? So if I end up matching you with a mentee and their facilitator, and I've made you aware that the mentee is hard of hearing, and I can tell you a little bit about what that's going to be like for them and maybe how you can support them. But because the facilitator knows them a little bit better, they can actually explain that to you a little bit further. And if there's something that you also need, because sometimes our mentors also have disabilities, that you can also request that from the facilitator as well. And because these mentorships are so short, they're only 1 hour to 1 day, that short mentorship really needs somebody, sort of a second set of ears and eyes that are there to take notes, to end up being there in regards to debriefing after the mentorship, all of those sorts of pieces. But just to remember that they're insured and there's a facilitator both for you and for the mentee there as well. As I said, these mentorships are short. 1 hour to 1 day. You saw that virtual one with ICBC. It can be a chat in a coffee shop, which happens quite often, or it can also be in person. We say a half day to a full day. Sometimes it's just 2 or 3 hours. And sometimes it's up to 8 hours as well. Some mentees, I would say the majority of our mentors do more than one mentorship or want to do more than one. So once they've had one, they really enjoy it. And then mentees sometimes do different mentorships too. Sometimes that mentorship is very different from one one to the other. And sometimes it's very similar, but in just slightly different roles. They might all be in IT, but in different roles, or it might be something that's very different. We have a current mentee who's super creative, and she's done one in regards to a DJ. She's also done one in regards to a documentary filmmaker, and she just did one with a photographer as well. So, what is a mentee looking for? They're looking for a tour of the workplace. What does this place look like, smell like, sound like? All of those sorts of things. A job shadow, that's going to give them a little bit better of an idea around what that job is going to be like for them. They want to be a landscaper. What are the tools that they using? What kind of physical strength? We can end up talking about it, but until somebody is actually practice it, they might not end up knowing. A practice interview is fantastic. Asking questions, I often refer to it as an information interview, and I would say that's the majority of our mentorships. How did you get the job? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? So one of the things that I always tell mentors is don't sell your job. Just tell us what it's really like. What schooling did you go to? What mistakes did you make along the way? Getting feedback on somebody's resume or portfolio is also super important. We had a mentee back in November who came to us after being in Canada for about a year. She's originally from Ukraine, and she was in marketing, and she had all of this experience, and she wasn't understanding why she wasn't even getting called for interviews. So we were able to match her up with a person that had been in marketing here in Canada for 20 years. And she took a look at her resume, and there were things there that I guess we just don't do here in Canada. And so she took it and asked her a couple of more questions about other pieces of experience. She said, take those pieces out, add these pieces in. The mentee did that, applied for 3 jobs that evening, and got called in for interviews of 2 of them. And she eventually got employed by one of those. So you can see how powerful this is. She went from barely getting asked to end up doing interviews to now end up getting hired. And many of our mentorships are also just meant for networking, right? Getting to know the HR teams at different companies. What is it like there? Figuring out what company might be the right fit for them, not just the job itself. So the next slide, this is going to be the poll question. So accommodation. And accommodation is something, I'm just going to move this out. That's something that employers do to support their employees in the workplace. Most of the time, people think about the ramp to the front door or the automated door, but there are many other ways that people on your team can be accommodated. A specialized font for people who are dyslexic, anti-fatigue mats to help somebody stand longer, table risers so a person doesn't need to bend as much, ergonomic keyboards, a mice to help you use the computer faster. So my question to you is, what do you think is the average cost of an accommodation here in Canada? We've got people thinking here, Annabel. I can see it. All right. So 2 of the answers here, we kind of tricked you. 2 of the answers here are correct, like $100 to $500 or $500 to $1,000. So the average cost here in Canada is $500. We actually think it's a little bit lower than that because when people are doing these information interviews in regards to the kind of accommodations, often the ones that are free are not registered. So, as I said, one of the examples that I ended up having was a specialized font for a person who was dyslexic. So right about 6 months into my role as a hub coordinator, I was working with a company that had done 3 mentorships in about 2 months. And it was a large enough company that they would have lots of different kinds of mentors. So I reached out to them again to see if I could end up getting a fourth mentor. And the HR person reached out to the team, and there wasn't somebody who was volunteering for that. But during our conversation, she asked if I had if I'd like to hear an embarrassing story. If you don't know me, I love embarrassing stories, maybe not about myself, but other people. And so I said, sure, absolutely, tell me the story. And she said, we thought we were so inclusive. And after these 3 mentorships, they had an employee and step up and say that they were dyslexic and they wanted to end up having that specialized font that I talk about in this particular question. So this employee had worked there for several years and had never stepped up. She wasn't able to load the font herself because of the way their IT protocols were set up. So she ended up going to HR. She even had the font for them. She had the source for them. It cost a little over $6 for them to end up having it for a year. And because this font came with, they could have several users on it. So she was able to use it. They now got a better employee to read emails faster, documents better, all of those sorts of things for that $6. But because they could have several users, they just reached out and said, does anybody else want this? And 2 other employees on their team said that they thought that it would work better for them as well. So these mentorships are also a way of truly showing how inclusive your company is. So that's just an example of that. Let me go to the next slide. So you're thinking about becoming a mentor and you're sort of wondering why you might do this. You're going to end up helping promote the employment of people with disabilities, right? And what Annabel was saying before. You're going to learn more about individual disability experiences, maybe ones you're not aware of, right? So someone who maybe needs a little bit of time processing information, so pauses in between. Someone who is hard of hearing, so the fact that using closed captioning during presentations or speaking directly to them, different things like that. Recognizing talent and potential is so important. Tapping into a pool of potential future employees, demonstrating community leadership. But also, are there people that work with you now, or maybe yourself, and in regards to building those leadership skills? Imagine during one of these short mentorships, how that can help initiate those pieces. What if you end up having it, you think, oh, our team is fairly inclusive here, but you know what, that one team, we know that they struggle with it a little bit. Maybe doing a couple of mentorships will end up helping them be more inclusive as well. So I'm sure I've convinced all of you to end up signing up to be a mentor. So this is what it looks like. You fill out an online intake form. We do an intake interview. I'll ask you a few questions about what you're doing, what kind of mentorship you like to do, and they last anywhere from 20 minutes to up to an hour, and it's usually done by phone or Zoom. I then check to see, do we have any mentees that match this? And if we do, then I do the introduction. If not, we have a mentorship catalog that we send out to our facilitators about once every 6 weeks to saying, hey, here's just some of our mentors that have signed up. If you'd like to reach out to me, and I can tell you a little bit more about them. And then I find the match. I introduce all 3 of you. I introduce you, the mentee, and the facilitator. And now you guys just choose the time of when are you going to end up doing this mentorship. The mentorship happens. You reflect on the experience. I check in with you. I send a survey. And if you repeat, if that's what you would like to end up doing. And so on that sort of timeline that Annabel ended up showing you for the mentee, this is sort of at the beginning of that discovery time or that exploration time. So that's there. for them. And to let you know, a job offer is not expected at the end of any of these mentorships. We make that really clear. This is just about getting that little taste of what is that job really like? Am I going to end up liking this? And we actually consider it a successful mentorship if mentees end up saying at the end of that mentorship, wow, this job is not what I thought that it was. I don't want to end up pursuing that. So we really like, we don't like when that happens, I guess, but it is the fact now that mentee is not going to end up wasting their time, all the emotional time of applying for a job. And because they're so enthusiastic about something, then they get hired and they discover while they're hired. So that also saves employers' times as well. And you can also sign up as a community partner or a business partner as well. We have quite a few from smaller companies like Toy Loot that just signed up in New West, Discover Dogs here in Vancouver, that's where I am, ICBC, the city of Saanich. So we've got both big and small companies that have signed up for us. And to also a reminder that these mentorships are also insured as well. So before I started, we ended up doing quite a large survey. Another one has been done. Sorry, I don't have the stats yet, but 93% of employers reported an increased knowledge of the ways they make their workplace more inclusive. So you can absolutely see that font piece was very important to that particular company, and they're also making changes, and they've done many, many more mentorships now as well. 85% of employers report an increased network to support employment of persons with disabilities because often that facilitator works for an organization like Aspire Richmond. And 91% of job seekers report an increased knowledge to employment to find that good fit for them, right? So that's the one thing that's so important for us. So this is my contact information here. If you want to be a mentor, you can end up scanning that QR code. You can take a look at Mentorability on our website. You can give me a call as well. And it's just a chat. Like if you want to end up reaching out and that you're not sure, we can end up having a 5-minute chat about what it might end up looking like for you or for your employees. And that's it. So I'm going to stop sharing now.
Thank you so much for such an informational webinar today, ladies. If you have any questions, please pop that into the Q&A function below. And I have a few questions. So I was wondering, what is the time commitment for participating in the Mentorability program?
So the time commitment is, like I talk about, it's 1 hour to 1 day, but first, there's the filling out the form, which might take you less than 5 minutes, right? I would take, say, about 3. Then it's an intake with me, so 20 to 60 minutes to sort of find that out, to ask me also questions about it. And then, as I said, the mentorship lasts from 1 hour to 1 day. I would say about 60% of the mentorships have got some sort of connection afterwards. It might be, oh, here's the book I was telling you about, or here's a job that I just saw, and sending it to them. And I would say about 10% of them stay super connected, right? Where they're connecting with people a few times per year. So we had one mentorship that happened pre-COVID where it was about dog grooming, and Zach and Becky. So Zach was the mentee and he's now also been a mentor. And Becky, they still stay in contact today, right? So Becky tells me stories about reaching out to Zach, to saying, hey, I just found this new tool with a better grip for me. Do you want to come over and try it? Or I went to this workshop that taught me this new technique that I think you might like. So different things like that. There was also a connection that I ended up making last January, so a little over a year and a half ago, to actually an ex-boyfriend of mine. So I stay connected with lots of people. And to an ex-boyfriend of mine. And so he was in IT. This particular mentee also wanted in regards to web design. So they connected, and this mentee came to us through a mental health program. And my ex also had dealt with mental health. So they connected on that level, but they were also both men of color dealing with similar things. So then they would, like, from what I understand, they're talking every couple of months, talking about different things. Chris sends him information about jobs that he sees or groups that he should join, because Chris is really good at connecting and networking, and this mentee is not fantastic at that, but Chris is mentoring him through that. So that part is really nice. Did I answer that question okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you so much. We
You're
have
welcome.
another question. What is a DEI program? I think that is a really good question. I'm sure lots of people might be wondering that. Either Annabelle or Tina could take it.
Annabelle, you go ahead.
Okay. It refers to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So it is really focused in on being inclusive of people in different capacities, whether it's a cultural inclusion or including someone with a disability. And it's really about giving equal opportunities or equity to different groups of people.
Can I expand on that a little
Yes,
bit?
please.
So one of the things that I found when I'm reaching out to companies and organizations, and they have this diversity, equity, and inclusion program, what I'm often seeing there is cultural, the fact that you're a newcomer to Canada, and also in regards to gender. So the fact that you're a female. So and then also in regards to sexual orientation, that is often included, or I would say almost always included in regards to those programs. And every once in a while, they'll end up mentioning disability within that. But I would say it's less than 50% of the time. I would say it's more around 35 or 40% of the time where they actually mention disability within that. And so, Terry, I saw that there was the other question. Is this a Sometimes it can be a special program within a company. It's often part of the human resources team. And sometimes it's just as much of just being aware, where a company goes, okay, let's take a look at our team. We notice that it's not very diverse. What can we do to end up changing this? Because we now have data that shows when we have diverse teams, we actually end up having better companies. So you can end up reaching out to different companies that can end up helping you with that. You can end up reading about that. Actually, Aspire Richmond also has just lovely documentation in regards to inclusive hiring that's around disability, and other organizations like Mosaic would end up having other information around hiring newcomers. So it's a little bit of a patchwork, but it doesn't have to be like a whole program. It can be more of an outlook or an understanding of maybe something that you're doing that is preventing you from hiring inclusively, either for people with disabilities or newcomers or sexual orientation or gender, right? So the fact that you can end up looking at it like that.
Thank you so much. I have another question. So if a business is looking to hire people with disabilities, but they're just worried that it might slow down their workflow, or just they would have to put too many resources into focusing on something like that, what words of advice would you have for them?
Sorry, checking my audio.
Yeah,
People are often concerned about, gee, we're going to have to change our the way we work, or what our expectations are for a position. When we place people in companies, we actually generally expect the company to have the same expectations of them that they would have for any other employee. So it's not a case that you have to accommodate your standards. You set the standards for what's required in your business, and then we support the person to meet that. Sometimes if someone is not able to excel to one of those standards, there may be some accommodation that we'll ask. Something that we do sometimes is job carving. So if we take a candidate to a company and they have a very broad job description where, they've got actually maybe 10 little mini jobs in there, and they're really good at 7 of them, but maybe a couple of them, they struggle a bit. If we can job carve out the place where they are really hyper competent, then, there's just no need to lower the standards. So we really focus on supporting someone to work with their capabilities, and we encourage companies to not be rigid about their job descriptions, because what they might find is that, those couple little things we can shift off to someone else who's, actually really good at that. And so having a bit more fluid a look at your job descriptions actually works for everyone in the company, not just people with disabilities that you hire. So it's sometimes you can look at your overall staffing and say, okay, well, we'll take this person's admin responsibilities and give them to this person because we want them out selling or something. And so it's really just a way of rationalizing, so you don't have to uh, lower your standards in any way.
And I think too, we can take a look at all of ourselves, that there are parts of a job that you're really good at, and there's parts of your job that you're not so good at. And if we could end up balancing that out whenever possible, I think we would end up having better employees as well, right? So sometimes we have to end up doing the jobs that we're not so great at or that we're slower at and things like that. And so I think it's if we just take a look at everyone, you'll end up seeing that it can balance that way. The other suggestion that I would also make is sign up for Mentorability, right? So this is that 1 hour to 1 day, that little tiny taste. You're not expected to hire. This is a way for you to figure out your next steps too, just like that mentee is doing, right? Should I end up becoming a barista? Should I become a dog groomer? Should I wash cars? Like, should I end up doing this? So now you get to end up also testing out, going, okay, what's going to end up working well for us here as well. So it's a way to sort of test the waters. And also just to grow a little tiny bit, right? Just that opportunity, do that mentorship, wait a while, do another mentorship, learn a little bit more, do a little bit of self-reflection or business reflection, and to end up moving forward from there.
Awesome, thank you so much. So I don't see any more questions in the Q&A function, so I'm just gonna wrap up and give you a few minutes back in your day. Thank you so much to Tina and Annabel for sharing the information with us today. I hope everyone has learned something. Before we part for the day, I would like to remind you of some of our upcoming events. We've got a jam-packed calendar for June. Next week we have 2 events. So on June 12th, we have Women in Leadership Luncheon. And on June 17th, which is not next week, it's the week after, we have the Strictly Networking Dim Sum series. So we're bringing that back for 2025 again. And on Thursday, June 19th, we will have our Business After 5 at Kabu at Hilton. And on June 26th, we're bringing back our annual golf tournament. So I really hope to see everyone there. It's going to be a fun day, a beautiful golf course. We're going to be golfing there all day. And then we're going to wrap up the month with a new series called Virtual Coffee Chat. So Shayna, our CEO, will be sitting down with the Chamber membership, and she will be talking about managing your team, labor, recruitment, and retention. So please join us. It's a virtual event. It's your time to chat with the CEO one-on-one. And that will be on Friday, June 27th. So once again, thank you so much for joining us, taking your lunch hour. I hope that you have a great afternoon, and please reach out to
And
us.
Alina, I've got one question for you. Did you say dim sum networking?
That's right.
Okay. Fantastic.
I'll send you a follow-up email with
Okay.
Annabel and Tina's information. So if you want to reach out to them, you will be able to do that directly through that. If there's anything else that you need from the chamber, you know where to find us, and I will leave you back with your day. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye, thank you.